This is what Syrian State TV claims are the bodies of security forces killed by armed gangs in JISR. They aired the material for the first time early on Monday, accompanied by interviews with journalists who claim to have witnessed the bodies being unearthed. The Syrian government says 120 members of the security forces were killed in the town last week. They've blamed the deaths on armed gangs, but residents who fled the fighting have a different story. They say many of those killed were residents or members of the security forces who had defected. One former soldier who's fled to Turkey says if they disobeyed orders, they were shot in the head.
I saw Iranians and Hezbollah members also giving us orders to shoot. Those who did not obey were shot immediately in the back. All the soldiers who were killed were hit in the back or the neck. We used to try to fire in the air so not to kill protesters. 5 of my colleagues refused to shoot. They were shot in the back and killed.
Videos seen online show what witnesses have described as helicopters moving in on the city on Sunday ahead of heavy fighting. The real cause of death of these people is hard to prove, especially when international journalists are not allowed to report in Syria. Caroline Malone, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's hear now from Mohammed Al-Abdallah, who's a Syrian activist who joins us now live from Washington, D.C. I understand, Mohammed, that you're in touch with people in the town of Jazeera. What have people been telling you?
Recently, the last 24 hours before that, when the people started escaping from Syria, from Jazeera to Turkish border, that the army was surrounding Jazeera and they did not storm the city yet 24 hours ago. And today, or yesterday, 7 a.m., almost 200 military trucks, so, along with tanks, with heavy weapons, along with helicopters, with gun machines, stormed the city and they started bombing discriminately and killing people, and they stormed the city from the south and from the east, and the number of the civilians who tried to escape the city and go out of the city was huge, and they trying to the government forces or the army tried to prevent them to escape to the Turkish area. Today people I talked to them 24 hours and 48 hours ago told me before the government shows that pictures or videos about the mass graves of military members, that more than 100 members from the army rejected the orders to fire on protesters and to kill civilians, and the military intelligence executed them inside the military intelligence branch in the city, and then they fabricated the mass grave after they buried those dead bodies.
Okay, so the people, let's just get this straight, the people that you're talking to in JISR are telling you that those pictures we've seen on Syrian state television are actually of a fabricated murder, that the people responsible for the deaths of whoever is in those graves are the Syrian army, the intelligence services.
Exactly, the people the dead bodies is for, it's for soldiers, but they rejected to fire on civilians, and the military intelligence executed them and then buried them in these mass graves, and then prepared them to fabricate this video and then to bring it live to the people. And that's remind us when the military or the army in Daraa, they were arming the dead bodies in the top of the mosque and saying to each other, let's put the arms and the bullets here and have the TV film them and then to show them in the state-run TV. That's exactly what's happening, but now we're not talking about 5 or 10 soldiers who rejected to fire on civilians. We're talking about tens of those. And the people, the soldiers who escaped to Turkey and they talked from the Turkey border, they've been interviewed with Reuters on AFP. They proved these stories.
Okay. Now, as I said, you're in touch with people who are still inside JISR. Thousands of people are reported to have left. Are you in contact with people who are on the border between Syria and Turkey, and what are people left in JISR telling you about what's actually happening in the city now? It must be pretty much like a ghost town with so many people having left.
I talked with one of the Syrians inside the camp who's like taking a lead or responsibility or organizing those thousands who escaped to the Turkish border, and they told me they are a resident, or they were resident of JISR al-Shughur, and they told me that the army started surrounding the city 3 days ago, and they start burning the farms around the city, and they even killed the cows or the animals around the city, and the civilians were terrified, and that's why they started to escape, where the army started putting obstacles or trying to arrest people, even families who were trying to escape. I talked to one person who told me that the family was trying to escape with a car, where the army members stopped them and they shot in the car when they rejected to stop. They were family and civilians with no arms. Lots of people I talked to in the 24 to 48 hours ago proved they told me, and they assured to me that no one armed in the city. There were tens of people, of soldiers, who rejected to fire in the civilians, and they rejected to follow the orders by their measure, and as they've been killed, and as the video shows in the State Run TV.
Mohammed, many thanks indeed for that. Mohammed Al-Abdullah there in Washington, D.C.